Hey Internet, welcome to Worldview Everlasting, your favorite YouTube addiction, and this is The Fix. Hey, we got a good question from a viewer about a lot of words that sound the same, and if you aren't paying attention to the spelling, could honestly be a bit confusing. It's not like we live in the most literate society on earth, and in a culture where whatever someone says on TV is true just because someone had the money to broadcast them saying it, it certainly doesn't hurt to buff up on the facts whenever you can. So, here we go with a quick rundown of all the arias, yes, let the reader understand, that are bouncing around everywhere on the internet these days. Number 1, Arminianism.
Roundabout.
Number 1, Arminianism. Arminianism is a term named after one Jacob Arminius, a Dutch Calvinist of the 1600s who became embroiled in a debate with the supralapsarian, that is, double predestination tulip theologians in their Genesis. It is in response to him that the 5 points of tulip are really developed at the Synod of Dort, and as a result, the term Arminianism has come to mean any Protestant who denies supralapsarian double predestination and therefore teaches free will and decision theology in salvation since, Lutherans and their view of single election don't really exist. They just think they do. Whether or not Arminius actually taught free will is a matter of debate, and scholars who've read him firsthand point out that he merely challenged the false teachings that would eventually become dogmatized as tulip, such as the limited atonement and irresistible grace. Regardless of his actual position, Arminianism today is always going to be a term that means one who teaches that the human will plays a causal effect in salvation. So most Baptists, Methodists, Pentecostals, and the like, people who would pray the sinner's prayer as part of Christianity, fall into this category. As a teaching, it's something that Lutherans do not believe and condemn as a lie of the devil, equally as dangerous as supralapsarian double predestination. Yeah, election's a real trip. You should read the Formula of Concord on that if you want more. Number 2, Antinomianism. Now, we've done enough videos on this recently that we should be able to just to link to it, but it helps to define the term. The Antinomian controversy broke out during Luther's lifetime when a bloke named Agricola began teaching that the law plays no role in the Christian's life after conversion, and that the Christian only needs the gospel to be preached, or taught, or heard. Antinomos means against the law, and not only was this position clearly condemned as foolhardy in Luther's life, but the latter Formula of Concord repeats the fact that Christians still need the law because we are still in the flesh. The big problem with the debate you may run into these days on the internet is that the term is also being used to attack those who teach that we must rightly distinguish between the law and the gospel as two different words, and that the gospel ought to predominate in our preaching. Why any Lutheran would be against this in practice is a funky enough matter that I'm not going to guess at it here. But the term antinomian itself means and continues to mean, amongst scholars and theologians who care to be accurate, those who refuse to teach the law to Christians. The only ones I've ever met who actually do this as Lutherans are those American Lutherans who tend to advocate for things like abortion, the ordination of women, and prayers to the goddess. Yes, they do exist.
Our Mother, who is within us.
I threw up.
Run away! Run away! Run away!
Yeah. 3, Arianism. Not to be confused with Arianism with a Y. This one's got an I. Arianism with an I is a false teaching pretending to be Christianity that arose within the early centuries of the church, that is the 3rd and 4th centuries, as a man named Arius, something of a rascal but a really nice guy, a great entertaining preacher, and the author of many contemporary praise songs.
Now, the lyrics don't need to be deep, they just need to be easy enough so that people can remember them by the second time they get to the chorus.
I'm not kidding. Used those gifts to sway most of the church into believing that Jesus was not God, that Jesus was only a God, or just barely less than God, the Son of God, but not of one substance with the Father. The Council of Nicaea more or less existed to deal with this problem, and even though going in, the Arians were in the majority, after studying the scriptures together and seeing jolly old Saint Nick exhibit some sweet kung fu, although that one's probably apocryphal. They came out with the Nicene Creed affirming that Arianism, teaching that Jesus is not God and denying the Trinity in unity, is frankly not Christianity at all. Today you can still find Arianism still at work among the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, some Pentecostals, and yes, even Islam traces its theological chops when it talks about Jesus to the teachings of this movement. Number 4, Armenian, spelled with an E. The Armenians are a people group that once ruled an empire from their homeland, which lies between the Black and the Caspian Seas in Central Asia. Today, the country still does exist as a former Soviet state, nestled just under Georgia and east of Turkey. As a part of Asia, it is also home to an expression of the Oriental Orthodox Church, in particular in the Armenian Apostolic Church, which claims to have been personally planted by the apostles Bartholomew and Thaddeus, which is entirely possible. They are distinct from Western churches, that is, Rome and their Reformations and their sectarians, and Eastern Orthodoxy, which is the Greeks and the Russians, in their monophysitism, that is, their rejection of the 4 negations of the Council of Chalcedon, which were developed to defend the 2 natures of Jesus Christ being one person. Of course, like all orthodoxy of every shape, they claim that the accusations against them are based on a mere misunderstanding of the nuances of their argument. Pinning down the Orthodox teachings always makes herding cats and pinning down Calvinist teachings,
being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
Wink, wink, seem like a grand, easy affair. In any case, the word Armenian today can either refer to a people group from Central Asia and a country, or a form of soft Eutychianism, and a triple wink, wink, wink if you picked up on that one. 5. The Arianism with a Y of Hitler. Yeah, this is the Darwinian idea of the eugenic evolution of humanity, in which some breeding groups, as evolution must and always teaches, are stronger than others, and of which one group, which in Hitler's case namely was the fair-skinned semi-Germanic peoples, have demonstrated superiority to all others. It should be noted that the ideas which led to Hitler are not limited to Hitler or to being white. They're more limited to believing in evolutionary theory and actually applying it to the world around you. What? Just saying. It's a bit silly for anybody with a non-atheistic bone in their body to believe such things, though. Nonetheless, even Hitler's Arianism continues to become a failsafe for young males of Central European descent, as the racisms of the past are at times inverted and heaped upon them as if it's all their fault. You know, it's not all lives matter, and it's not every ethnicity is awesome month either.
Awesome!
So in fear and anger, malleable minds without Christ to teach them the brotherhood of mankind under God easily seek gods in their own images. And for Hitler, this meant gradually murdering all peoples who did not look like his prototype for the new empire, which was not only murdering the Jews, but also the Poles, the Russians, people with learning disorders, physical disorders, mental disorders, sexual disorders, or faith in Jesus. As a result, to this day, the easiest way to win any argument with somebody anywhere is to tell them that they are like Hitler, because, like, he's bad news, yo. Duh. 6. The Armenian Genocide, with an E. This takes us back to Armenia, which, though once an empire, in the Middle Ages came under the rule of the Ottoman Turks, an Islamic state founded in 1299 and lasting in some shape or other up until just after World War I, after which its remains were reformed into the present-day state of Turkey. During that war, the governing forces, which were allied with Germany, began arresting and unilaterally murdering people of Armenian descent who dwelt within their borders. Keep in mind, these were the Christians in their country. Other Christian groups, like the Syrians and the Greek Orthodox, were also similarly targeted. The number of victims is estimated at between 800,000 and 1.5 million. Now, why humans always think that peace comes by killing the dissidents is certainly beyond the teachings of Christianity, though sadly not beyond the teachings of many other world religions. But hey, we all just believe the same things anyway, right? So there you go, a primer on a bunch of A words that float around in both political and religious conversation, which of course you should never have in polite company. Unless of course you're the other A word. Astute. Unless of course you're astute. What were you thinking? Goodness gracious. Catch you next time.